right. Plutarch. Wait, who's that guy? Okay, Plutarch came after the time of Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. Although he's a part of the Platonic school of thought, he would be considered a essentially a middle Platonist, or espousing the ideas of the time frame from I think about 110, 90 BC to about 200 AD. The thing to know with Plutarch and what he's famous for, if you Google or were to look him up, he wrote Parallel Lives, which was essentially a biography historically of philosophers in the Greek Roman world that have come before, and essentially espousing their virtues, vices, and in some sense codifying their ideas and their philosophical ideas into one source. I think Parallel Lives is probably still in print in whatever edition now, and I've read snippets of it, but it might be worth the read. One of the interesting things to highlight about Plutarch is a post Aristotle Platonic ideas came under fire essentially in the Greek world. And part of the reason they came under fire was to say, look, this notion of forms and whatever is great, but we've got wars to fight, we've got people to feed, we've got lives to live. None of this junk really matters. Now that's an oversimplification of much of the skepticism they receive, but nonetheless, that was a greater part of it. And Plutarch was influential in saying, okay, no, look, the ethical life is important, and it is very important for the city-state. And Plutarch's going to come in and emphasize that how we live ultimately matters more than anything else, because we are living a legacy of tradition. That if the moral life fails, the economy, the military, social order in life, it collapses with the lacking of a virtuous moral life. Christians should take heed to that, because the church collapses in the same way. We've seen it with fallen pastors and leaders. Generally speaking, in my own Reform camp, it's sin of some kind. Not sin in what they're teaching, but sin in how they're living. Plutarch was also influential in sort of passing the Platonic torch, if you will, given so much emphasis that Plutarch's influence is one of the reasons a guy like Philo of Alexandria, a Jew, would essentially approach the Torah, the books of Moses, and attempt to read and understand them essentially through a Platonic lens. Now, I don't advise that. I don't think it was wise, but nonetheless, historically, it's good to know the level of influence and impact Platonic philosophy had, and Plutarch is one of the significant figures who passed the baton and even was influential in leading a guy like Philo, post-Middle Platonism or around that time, to interpret Scripture through that lens as a means of gaining understanding. Well, thanks for listening. Hope that was helpful.